On today's show, 16 games left, and Kawhi Leonard will play against the Atlanta Hawks on Friday, and we'll also be seeing a familiar face in Terance Mann. What does this game do for the Clippers with a win? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team, every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to Dime Dropper. I've been covering the Clippers for 5 years, this channel for 3 years, and of course, Locked On Clippers now has a newsletter. You can follow it at LockedOnDaily.com. Just sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action for the tournament all March long. Now, in this episode, Kawhi Leonard does return for this game against the Atlanta Hawks on Friday. And the familiar face of Terance Mann will be seeing for the first time and playing against him for the first time in his career. And Bogdan Bogdanović makes his return to Atlanta as we close out this little 3-game roadie in the South with Miami, New Orleans, and now Atlanta before coming home for 4 straight home games. Sunday, an absolute must-win against the Charlotte Hornets, in my opinion. I will most likely be there, barring, I have a tournament, a club tournament to coach on Sunday. Actually, no, I can't be there on Sunday. I'm going to my grandma asked me to go for my cousin's birthday, so probably won't be there. Tuesday, March 18th against the Cavs. I probably will have all-star practice because our tournament's the next day. And then Friday I won't be there either. So I'm not going to be at any of these games. Sunday, March 23rd. Yeah, probably. Against OKC, I think I'll actually be at that one. That's probably the one I'm going to go to. But yeah, my schedule is really, really tight for the foreseeable future. But who cares about me, right? Let's talk about Kawhi. 16 games left in the season. 16 games. Those are some big games, though, by the way. Charlotte, we got to win, but Cleveland and OKC, 2 of the best 3 teams in the NBA, or the 2 best records in the NBA this year, I should say. And then Memphis is no slouch, but we've actually had some success against them this season. I say if we can go 2-2, that'd be successful, in my opinion. That would make us 38-32, but actually 39-32 if we get the win against the Atlanta Hawks, who are playing some good basketball right now. They've won 4 consecutive games. 2 of them against the Indiana Pacers. But they're going into this game with some good form. Charlotte and Philly, though, not playing great ball. And one thing that's been a constant for the Hawks is they've been scoring a lot of points. In each of those 4 wins, they've scored 120 or more points. Even in the loss to the Milwaukee Bucks in the game before those 4, they scored 121 points. In the game before that, 132. Game before that, 119. So they have scored 119 or more points in their last 7 games. So our defense is going to be put to the test here. Can we slow down an Atlanta Hawks offense that's scoring the ball a lot recently? But Kawhi Leonard, it's more important to see how he does. We're at the point now where we got 16 games left this season. 16 games left. And in Kawhi's case, he's played a grand total of 23 games. Is he going to play those remaining 16 and end at 39 games? Well, that depends. Do we have any back-to-backs left? We do. So let's subtract the 3 back-to-backs and say he plays 13 more games. 13 more games, that ends up being 36 games. So this is obviously not ideal, right? It's really not ideal to have who you feel is the most important player, the best player on the team, even though this season has been James Harden, playing only 36 games in a season and expecting to win a playoff series. But what really matters most is what kind of form he has going into the playoffs and what kind of health, what his health is like. Right now, he's averaging 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal on 46, 36, 75 shooting splits. So we still have just not quite gotten to that Kawhi Leonard level of efficiency that we're used to seeing. But in the last couple of games, he's kind of, ever since it was against, I'd say, Memphis, he had 25 points, and then he had 25 against the Bucks, 17 against the Bulls, 21 against the Lakers, 33 against the Lakers, and then 21 against Phoenix, 20 against New York. The game where he struggled shooting the ball the most, honestly, was that New York game and the Sacramento game where he had just 17. Then the last game, he had 29. In the month of March, he's averaging 24 points a game on 47% shooting from the field, but his three-point percentage is really bad, 29%. So remember what I said. We want to be aware of Kawhi's non-rim paint shots, his floaters, his shots around the paint that are not right by the rim. See how that comes along, because he's been struggling with that compared to normal. And of course, his three ball. That's something I'm going to be looking at in this game. So my takeaway is, in this game against Atlanta, look for the non-rim paint shot attempts and the threes. How is that looking for Kawhi? Of course, we're still looking at his burst, his speed. It was looking a little bit better in that last game, even though we did lose, which was nice to see. And of course, averaging 24 points, that's by far the most he's averaged in these 3 months of the season that he has played. So that's really big. But yeah, that's the situation with Kawhi Leonard right now. He's still not quite consistently up to the speed that we want him to be at. He has had one 30-point game this season. It was a 33-point game at the Lakers. But we want to see more. We need to see more. He is so important to this team. He truly is. And the best version of our Clippers, I don't believe, comes without the best version of Kawhi Leonard. And we haven't quite seen that. You know what I'm saying? We haven't quite seen that all the way around. But so we got 16 games, or we should say 13 games for him to get it right. So this is a big test. I wouldn't say it's a big test, but just another opportunity, right? Against the team that is a good offensive team, but are they a good defensive team? They haven't been for a couple of years. I'm about to check that right now. I mean, Trae Young, we're going to be going at Trae Young a lot. Last year, they were 12th in offensive rating, 27th in defensive rating. This year, they're 18th in offensive rating. So they actually score. They're 5th in points per game, but they're 18th in offensive rating. I guess they just play the second highest pace in the league, which honestly is part of why Terance Mann fits in better there, but they're 17th in defensive rating. So they're really not great in either category. They're very bang average in either category, but they're going to play fast. And we obviously aren't a very fast-paced team. So let's see how we handle that. Let's see how Kawhi Leonard handles that. But coming up, a familiar face that we're going to be seeing again, Terance Mann, one of the most beloved Clippers of all time, our first time playing him, and he had some interesting words that may have been a subtle shot at Ty Lue. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can bet $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few teams this season, but mainly USC and UCLA women's basketball. They've got a really good chance to go all the way, both of them, and I'm really invested in that. But if you're invested in a team like Duke with Cooper Flagg or a men's team, then go on to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right. So let's talk about Terance Mann. He obviously was traded for Bogdanovic and a handful of second-round picks. And I'll tell you, Terance Mann, I said it when he got traded. I think he'll really fit into the fast-paced Atlanta Hawks style. I think James Harden, honestly, as many open shots as he got for him, was not good for Terance Mann in any way. I thought Westbrook and a faster-paced point guard was better for him, which honestly, it does say a little bit about Terrance's game that he when it comes to just high leverage, wide open threes over and over again with the entire defense, you know, kind of staring at you and then offense that's stagnant. I think maybe he's not one of those guys that's going to knock those shots down at a consistent rate because he gets in his own head. But in a more fast-paced system where it feels like he's just getting more shots up and touching the ball more, I know he thrives more. Right now, he's averaging 9.5 points a game as a member of the Hawks. He's averaging 23 minutes a game for them as opposed to what he averaged for us, which was 20. He's shooting 55% in the 14 games that he's played for them. He shot 45% for us this season. Of course, if that were just his entire season, if that were his field goal percentage for the season, that would be a career high, but I don't think he's going to regress a little bit. 55% is a little insane. He's shooting even more threes per game with them, one more a game. With 3, he was shooting 2 for us. And right now, he's shooting 44% from deep. And again, it's all mental with him. He didn't just forget how to shoot. I knew that was going to come. But again, that's also going to regress just a bit. But free throw shooting, terrible, 52%. So that's no good, T. But you knew that a new lease on life, maybe a refound sense of confidence and more guarantee that he's going to get minutes would be good for him. So 9.5 points a game, that would be his second highest scoring season behind 2022. He's averaging 3 rebounds and 2.5 assists. And he's had a couple of good games recently, 10 points against the Hornets in their last win and 19 points, which is his Hawks career high, against the Philadelphia 76ers on Monday. So he's looking pretty good this month. 11 points a game. I'm really happy for Terance, but again, he's not scoring 30 like Bogi. We're gonna talk about Bogi more in the next segment, but if we want to talk about, the trade, I haven't watched Terance Mann as a Hawk yet, honestly. That's why, and I just haven't had the time. You don't think I want to? Of course I want to see how he's doing, but I haven't been able to. What I have seen is Bogdanovic be the X factor for our Clippers. But it's going to be interesting to see Terance again. I'm interested to see if he's going to play with a little chip on his shoulder, given that I don't think he has any hard feelings towards the Clippers, but his role changed so much over the years, whether it be, we were using him as a starter in the playoffs. We were using him as a playmaker ball handler with the 2022 team. And then 2023, we were using him as a point guard for a second. And then Westbrook came, and then he was going back to the bench. And then the following year, he started alongside Harden. And he has strictly a catch and shoot player. I thought this year was our chance he had a defined role. He was supposed to make shots and play D. And we just had better guys that could make shots and play D or better at one of the other, to the point where he kind of got relegated and he wasn't relegated to the bench, and he wasn't playing as well as even an Amir Coffey, quite frankly. So, it is what it is with T. I want to pull up that quote he had about Quinn Snyder and Ty Lue and, what he said, because it was very interesting. Let me pull it up right now. So Terance said, they're expecting a lot more from me. They're expecting me to shoot the ball off the dribble, catch and shoot, make plays when I get to the paint. They just want me to be who I am, and I really appreciate Coach Q for that. That's Terance Mann on his new offensive role with the Hawks. Well, I think there's a little bit of sour grapes there to some degree. Now, I think Terance Mann obviously loves the Clippers and the organization and Clipper Nation. I think he genuinely loves you, the fan, because we supported him so much. The Man jerseys were flying off the shelves in 2021-22 after that 2021 playoff run. But they're expecting a lot more from me. Let's just go there. Okay, yes, of course. A team that struggles defensively is going to need a guy that can play above average defense more than a team like us who has Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., Nico Batum, and such. And they're just a worse team. We are 36-30. They are 32-34. So by definition, they're a worse team, and he is getting more minutes. A lot more from me. I mean, sure, whatever. they're expecting me to shoot the ball off the dribble. So were we saying for him not to shoot the ball off the dribble? Because if so, I mean, that's kind of whack because you're going to be attacking closeout sometimes. And if Terance Mann, I used to criticize him for not taking the pull up when guys ran him off the line. And if they're telling him not to, because I don't know, his percentage might not be great, but those people need to understand that when you pass up those open mid ranges off the dribble that teams are running you off the line, it's not like you have to stop on a dime with a dude on your hip. You can just walk into it. If you don't take those shots and you try to kick it out for a three, the defense, the advantage has been given to you. So when you, kind of ignore the advantage for something else, this is the NBA. You're not going to get another offensive advantage on that possession. So that used to piss me off when he did that. So if we restricted that, that's really disappointing. But I don't know. I doubt they're telling him not to take open shots when he attacks closeouts. Catch and shoot, he said. Are you kidding me? That's what we asked of you. Make plays when I get to the paint. Did we ask you not to make plays when you got to the paint? They just want me to be who I am. I mean, I think that's a little bit of like, I'm playing better now, but who knows? I'm not in the locker room. I don't know. But I don't want to turn Clipper fans against Terance Mann with this, obviously. It's just, he's an emotional player. We knew that. And that's why I loved him so much. But that's clearly an emotional answer that he feels like this season, for whatever reason, he wasn't valued the way that he wants to be by the coaching staff. But he was given the starting spot. He didn't quite produce. He wasn't a great fit next to James Harden. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with Bogi this year. And, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see Bogi, Terance Mann in this one. But coming up, going to be looking at Bogdan Bogdanovic's return and how he has looked recently, being the X factor for this Clipper team. I got to tell you a little something about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. A lot of DoorDash, a lot of Postmates. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, back talking about the return of Bogdan Bogdanović to the Atlanta Hawks in this one. He's been playing some really solid basketball for us, and I consider him the X factor of this Clipper team post-trade deadline. We don't have Kevin Porter Jr. anymore. It's Bogi who has the ability now, besides James Harden on this team, to handle that ball, to play make and pick and roll, to attack closeouts off. Honestly, KPJ did not have that ability to be a good catch and shoot three guy and attack closeouts off the catch because nobody's attacking closeouts when it comes to KPJ at the three-point line. Or I'm sorry, nobody's closing out hard when KPJ is at the three-point line. And he almost always had the ball in his hands. It felt like he was never off the ball when he was in. So that gives Bogi the ability to play off of James Harden to a degree that you're just not going to see from a Kevin Porter Jr. But in the 14 games that Bogi's played for us, he's averaging more points than Terance Mann, 13 points a game. He's averaging more assists than Terance Mann. I forget the rebounds, but 3.4 for Bogi, 3.1 assists. And then shooting splits are now up to 44, 35, 83 for Bogi. So he really is, for me, the X factor for this Clipper team. When he seems to play well, we win. When he doesn't play well, we don't win. The last 10 games, he's averaging 14 points on 45.5% from the field and 37 from three. So the last 10, those splits, if we could have that going forward, that would be huge. And this might be a little bit of an emotional game for Bogi. You want to, mention it. It's his return to Atlanta. By the time you're listening to this, we probably have already played, and hopefully he's given them the business. But spent 5 or 4.5 years there after spending his first 3 years in Sacramento. So he's actually played on 2 different California teams. But immediately when he goes to the Hawks, he did miss 28 games that season, but I remember because I watched a lot of games that year and covered them on Dime Dropper because I didn't have much to do, and I felt that was the first year where the Hawks had a chance to make a run back to the playoffs, and boy, did they do that. Not only did they do that, they made it to the conference finals for the second time in their history in Atlanta, and I'm sorry, the Eastern Conference Finals for the second time in their history in Atlanta because they used to actually be in the West when they first moved from St. Louis. 2021 Hawks made it to the conference finals. Bogi averaged 16, 4, and 3 in the regular season when he came back. So he was huge for them. He even started 27 games and then in the playoffs averaged 14 points, but didn't shoot particularly well, but started all 18 games en route to the conference finals where they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games. But of course, beating the New York Knicks that year and in 5 games, that was the whole beginning of the Trae Young New York rivalry. And then you had the second round series against Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, our good old friend Glenn Rivers. That game 7 that Ben Simmons, it completely changed his career. But, what a year. 47, 44, 47, 44, 91 shooting splits from Bogi that first year as a Hawk. I mean, just off that year alone, you've got to think that they have a soft spot in their hearts for Bogi. Then the following year, he missed 19 games, played 63, started 27 of them, averaged 15, 4, and 3 on 43, 37, 84 splits en route to a first-round exit against the Miami Heat. And then the following year, he missed 28 games. That was a tougher one. That was when the Atlanta Hawks pushed the Celtics to 6 games, and Trae Young made that big-time heave to win Game 5 in Atlanta. But that was kind of an off year for Bogi. I mean, just in terms of 28 games missed, but he averaged less points than the first 2 years as a Hawk, but 14 points a game, 3 boards, 3 assists on 45, 41, 83 shooting splits. That's year 3 of Bogi as a Hawk. And in the playoffs against the Celtics that third year, that 2023 season, he averaged 13 points on 56, 45.5 shooting and from, 55.6% from the field in the 6 games and 45.5 from 3 in those games against the Celtics. So part of the reason why that series went 6 games against a really solid Celtics team, Bogi had a pretty good series. So you've seen more big performances, I think, from Bogi than Terance Mann overall. And then, of course, last year, his highest scoring season of his career, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on 43, 37, 92 shooting splits, and a solid Olympics in which Serbia got the bronze medal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got the bronze medal. Let me just double check that. Yep. Serbia did get 3rd place at the Olympics. So it was a really good run for Bogi recently before the beginning of this season with the Hawks, I guess, where he just played 24 games for them. I think maybe he struggled with injuries. 10 points a game. We mentioned it, 37% from the field and 30 from 3 for them. He's obviously shooting a little bit better for us now. A lot better, actually. 44% from the field and 35 from 3. So maybe he needed a little new lease on life as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, it's his return. How does he get a little video? I don't know. Clippers would do something like that for a player that contributed that much to their franchise. Of course, the Hawks might have a slightly more storied history. They've just been better and more competitive throughout history, but they have the same amount of finals appearances in Atlanta. 0. They've only made it with St. Louis. So that's funny. The Hawks, they've always been good, but they have not made it to the finals as the Atlanta Hawks. But that's it for me in this one, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the game. Go Clippers. If we win it 37-30 with 15 games left in the season, I can't believe we're almost at that point. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let's hit the notification bell. Let's subscribe so we get to 7,000 subscribers before the end of the regular season. And, of course, the Locked On Clippers newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers.